In the quiet hours of evening, when the world settles and the air cools into stillness, the ancient world unfolds like a vast tapestry. Colours soften into gentle hues, warm desert gold settling beside deep twilight blues, and the faint silver of distant rivers winding through the land. It is along this broad cloth of earth and sky that a single thread stretches, thin at times, shimmering at others, woven by countless hands over thousands of years. That thread is the Silk Road, not a single path but a collection of routes, some narrow and rocky, others wide and open, stretching from the rich eastern valleys of China to the rolling shores of the Mediterranean Sea. Thousands of travellers moved along these pathways over generations, merchants guiding their camels by lantern light, scholars carrying scrolls wrapped in silk, monks travelling between faraway monasteries, and artisans who traded their pottery, fabrics and stories for new ideas in return. This thread, so light it could slip between fingers, once connected entire civilizations. It passed through some of the most breathtaking landscapes on Earth, deserts where the wind sang low across dunes, steep mountain passes glowing pink at dawn, oasis towns where fountains sparkled in afternoon sun, and cities where walls were painted in cool blues and bright greens. And through each of these places, people carried not only goods, but wisdom and memories, shaping the shared history of distant worlds. My steps begin in the Far East, where morning light settles gently over the ancient city of Chang'an, today known as Xi'an. From here, travellers once gathered their camels, carefully securing bundles of silk dyed in soft reds and deep indigos, their fabrics folding and unfolding like calm waves. Bells were tied to harnesses, water skins filled, sandals adjusted, and cloaks wrapped tightly for the cold nights ahead. Travellers breathed in the cool air of dawn, knowing that ahead lay months, sometimes years, of slow movement across land that seemed to stretch into forever. As the caravan leaves the city, the world expands into open plains and rolling hills. The sky widens, a pale watercolour wash that deepens slowly as day grows. Trees become sparser, the land grows flatter. The sound of the caravan changes too, soft steps of hooves pressing into dry earth, the gentle shift of rope on wood, and the distant murmur of other travellers moving at the same patient pace. Soon the Gansu corridor appears on the horizon, a long natural passage between mountains and desert. It was here that travellers found their rhythm, slow, steady, deliberate. Small way stations offered rest, where weary figures drank tea, warmed over small fires, and spoke in soft voices about the road ahead. The air carried the faint scent of dust, pine and warm stone. Overhead birds glided in wide circles, their shadows passing silently across the earth. Farther west, the land grew drier. The Taklamakan Desert, one of the largest sandy deserts in the world, stretched into shifting golden dunes. Caravans skirted its edges, following oases where water shone like polished silver in the sun. In places like Khotan, trees lined the streets of small towns, and markets offered fruits grown from desert soil, melons, grapes, and warm flatbread that softened the fatigue of long days. In these towns, voices mingled with the rustle of leaves and the gentle wind moving through narrow lanes. Beyond the oasis towns, the earth rose sharply, climbing toward the high Pamir Mountains. Snow-capped peaks shone under morning light, and paths wound along cliffs where the air grew thin and cold. Travellers wrapped themselves in thick wool as yaks moved carefully over icy stones. Fires burned brighter in the mountains, and stories shared in this part of the journey lingered longer, warmed by flickering flames. Descending the far side of the mountains felt like entering another world. Rich green valleys opened up, fields shimmered in the sunlight, and villages dotted the landscape. The sounds of flowing rivers replaced the silence of snowy passes. Soon, travellers reached Samarkand, a city that rose like a jewel from the plains, with walls adorned in blue and turquoise tiles, shimmering like fragments of the sky brought down to earth. In its courtyards the air smelled of fresh bread, stone dust, and distant spices. Scholars recited poetry beneath fig trees, their soft voices drifting like small breezes. From Samarkand, the route led into Persia, where gardens bloomed even in dry air. Roses climbed stone walls, fountains bubbled gently in courtyard pools, and the warm glow of lanterns flickered across marketplace stalls. Nights were long and calm, the sky wide and serene. Caravanserais, large roadside inns, offered shelter, with thick wooden doors and quiet rooms where travellers slept beneath woven blankets. Finally, after months of steady movement, the path reached the Mediterranean Sea. Ships rocked gently in the harbour, their sails catching warm coastal light. Silk, spices, glassware and stories arrived here after their journey across mountains and deserts, and new goods waited to be carried back east in return. Tonight, we begin walking this ancient thread together, from the quiet dawn of Xi'an to the shores of the great western sea. Slowly, calmly, step by steady step as the desert winds soften and the night sky opens overhead. This is the Silk Road, a path of lanterns, sand, mountains, gardens and memory, a journey woven through time, a story that unfolds softly like silk. Leaving the eastern gates of Xi'an behind me, the world gradually widens and quiets into a landscape that feels both open and sheltered at the same time. The land stretches forward in gentle tones of pale gold and cooled greens, framed by distant mountains that rise in smooth silhouettes against the morning sky. This long tapering passageway is known as the Gansu Corridor, and for travellers of the Silk Road, it was a gateway to the larger world. The air here carries a softness in the early hours. Thin mist lingers along the edges of the hills, and the faint chill of night still clings to the earth. As the caravan moves forward, small clusters of shrubs rustle lightly in the wind. Camels shift their weight with slow rhythmic steps that settle into a steady, almost meditative tempo. Bells attached to their harnesses chime with each movement, their tones drifting through the still morning air like distant whispers. The Gansu Corridor is long, stretching hundreds of miles between the Kilian Mountains to the south and the towering desert to the north. The mountains cast blue shadows that stretch across the plains, creating soft contrast between light and dim. As the sun rises higher, the colours of the land deepen. Dry greens turn into dusty olives, pale earth warms into muted tans, and the sky itself opens into a wide expanse of watercolour blue. Travellers along this path once relied on the corridor as a safe and relatively protected passageway. Its length offered space to move goods, culture and ideas from the heart of China toward distant lands. This was a path where armies marched, where monks journeyed toward unknown horizons, and where merchants like myself guided caravans laden with silk, porcelain and carefully wrapped bundles of tea. As the caravan travels west, the first signs of ancient way stations appear, small fortresses built of sun-baked mud brick, their surfaces cracked by years of wind and weather. These structures blend into the earth, their colours nearly indistinguishable from the surrounding land. Approaching one of these way stations, the soft crunch of gravel underfoot grows louder as we near the wooden gates. Inside, the air fills with sounds muted by the thick walls. Merchants speak in calm tones, exchanging small bits of news about the road ahead. Some sit near small fires, warming their hands over gentle flames, their faces illuminated by the soft orange glow. The fragrance of boiled grain and simple broth drifts from a pot suspended above the fire, mixing with the faint scent of wool and dust. A quiet comfort settles over the group, even for those who have just arrived after long days on the road. After resting briefly, I step back into the light and watch the landscape stretch toward the west. The corridor seems endless, a ribbon of earth weaving between mountain and desert. The sky has brightened into a calm, steady blue, and thin, wispy clouds drift lazily overhead. In the far distance, I can see small movements, other caravans travelling in slow, patient lines. The sounds of the earth shift as the day warms. The steady wind picks up tiny grains of sand and sweeps them gently along the path. Dry grasses rustle like quiet whispers against the ground. Occasionally, a lone bird glides overhead, its wings catching glimmers of sunlight as it circles above the open fields. Farther along the corridor, large towers rise from the earth, the remains of ancient watchtowers that once guarded the route. Some stand tall and weathered, their surfaces marked by wind and time, while others have partially crumbled, leaving behind shapes softened by centuries. They overlook the land with silent patience, reminders of the many travellers who passed here long before me. Reaching the next cluster of buildings, I find a small settlement where traders gather to share supplies and information. Wooden stalls lean slightly toward each other, forming narrow lanes that smell faintly of dried herbs and warm bread. Clay jars filled with tea leaves sit beside bundles of medicinal plants gathered from nearby hills. Small tables display simple tools, copper bowls, and woven fabrics in faded tones. The people here move slowly, speaking in hushed voices as if the presence of the surrounding land encourages quiet. Travellers from various regions cross paths, some from the east, some from the far west, others from nomadic groups who roam the plains. A sense of calm unity lingers in the air, as though everyone understands that this long corridor binds them together, no matter how different their origins. After gathering supplies, dried fruit, fresh water, and a small pouch of tea, I continue westward. The sun begins its descent toward the horizon, softening the landscape with warm amber light. Shadows lengthen behind rocks and shrubs, and the caravan's pace slows as the heat of the day gives way to a cool, gentle breeze. Lanterns are lit as evening approaches. Their soft glow sways with each step, casting golden halos against the surrounding land. A calm quiet spreads as more caravans settle into camps along the corridor. Fires flicker in small circles and travellers sit in silence, their faces illuminated by warm light, their thoughts drifting gently with the rising smoke. The sky transforms into a canvas of soft pastels, lavenders, rose pinks and pale oranges blending seamlessly together. As night deepens, stars begin to appear, one by one, until the entire sky sparkles above the long corridor. The vastness of the land becomes even more apparent in the darkness, the mountains barely visible as soft shadows in the night. Under the star-filled sky, the Gansu corridor becomes a place of peaceful stillness. The land seems to breathe in the slow, gentle rhythms, and the caravan rests quietly, preparing for the days ahead. Ahead lies the desert, wide, shifting, and silent. The next chapter of the journey waits beyond the horizon. Leaving the Gansu corridor behind, the land begins to shift in character. The air grows drier, and the colour of the earth deepens into muted gold. Small stones crunch beneath the caravan's steady footsteps as the horizon widens into a quiet sunlit expanse. Ahead lies the great Taklamakan Desert, a vast sea of sand that stretches far beyond sight. For centuries, travellers approached this place with quiet respect. It was immense, unpredictable, and yet, in its own way, breathtakingly serene. The edges of the desert do not begin abruptly. Instead, the landscape transitions gently. Patches of hardy shrubs become sparser, the soil loosens into fine grains, and the breeze carries the faint scent of dry sand. A soft haze lingers along the ground as midday light settles over the dunes. The caravan slows, as if instinctively adjusting to the vastness unfolding ahead. Two routes once framed this desert. The northern path passing near the oasis town of Turpan with its fertile vineyards, and the southern path passing through cities like Khotan where jade and silk were treasured. Both roads skirted the desert's edges, curving around its most unforgiving depths. Travellers knew better than to cut across its heart. Even camels, so sure-footed and calm, hesitated at the idea. My steps follow the southern route, where small strings of trees mark the presence of water hidden below the surface. These oases are lifelines in a world of sand, patches of cool shade and softened air where weary travellers can rest. The first of these is small, barely more than a cluster of poplar trees with a shallow pool of clear water. The leaves rustle softly under the light wind, and their shadows dance slowly on the ground, offering a brief moment of comfort. Resting beneath the trees, the heat of the day settles into a gentle stillness. The desert hums quietly, its sound subtle, grains of sand shifting from dune to dune, the light brushing of wind across dry earth, and the soft murmurs of travellers preparing for the long stretch ahead. As the sun lowers, the temperature drops quickly, and cool air slips through the oasis like a wandering breath. Evening comes swiftly in the desert. Lanterns are hung from wooden poles and camel saddles, their warm glow drifting across the sand in trembling patterns. Shadows stretch long and soft, merging with the curves of the dunes. Fires are lit carefully, their flame small and steady to avoid stirring the sandy air. The flickering light paints the desert in gentle shades. Dull gold becomes pale silver, warm browns turn to cool blue-grey. Under the night sky, the Taklamakan transforms. The vast dome above reveals stars in shimmering clusters, brighter and more numerous than anywhere along the journey so far. The Milky Way spills across the dark with quiet brilliance, its pale band glowing as though dusted with faint watercolour. Caravans rest in small circles, and the soft breathing of camels becomes the dominant sound in the stillness. As dawn approaches, the sky transitions from deep indigo to soft lavender. The dunes seem to float in the early light, their contours smooth and gentle. The caravan rises slowly, adjusting packs and tightening ropes, preparing for another day along the desert's edge. Walking westward, the landscape becomes more dramatic. Small dunes become taller, rising into towering waves of sand shaped by centuries of wind. Their forms shift subtly from day to day, creating patterns that feel almost alive. Gentle ridges along one slope, sweeping curves along another. Some dunes glow with warm gold under the late morning sun, while others remain in shadow, holding cool tones of grey and violet. Further along the route lies a larger oasis, Khotan, one of the desert's most treasured resting places. Approaching the outskirts of the town, green fields appear unexpectedly, nourished by rivers fed from distant mountains. Rows of poplar and mulberry trees line the roads, their leaves shimmering like small mirrors under the bright sun. The scent of damp earth rises from the fields, blending with the fragrance of ripening fruit. Inside Khotan's marketplace, life feels almost dreamlike after days of quiet sand. Merchants display bundles of silk dyed in gentle hues, celadon green, faded red, pale gold. Potters arrange bowls and jars in careful rows, their surfaces decorated with soft patterns that echo the shapes of rivers and clouds. Traders from distant regions mingle beneath wooden awnings, their voices low and mild, their clothing brushed in dust from the long journey. Jade is the pride of Khotan, smooth stones that glimmer faintly in shades of pale green and creamy white. Craftsmen sit at shaded tables, carving delicate shapes from the stone with slow, precise motions. The sound of carving is faint but steady, like rain tapping lightly on clay. After resting in Khotan, the caravan moves onward, returning to the desert's edge. The path westward continues in a gentle curve, tracing the boundary between endless sand and fertile land fed by mountain streams. Here the desert widens again, reminding travellers of its quiet dominance. The dunes rise high, almost like gentle waves frozen in time. The wind shapes their surfaces constantly, smoothing edges and lifting fine grains into spirals of soft motion. During midday travel, the heat becomes intense. Light reflects off the sand in shimmering layers, and the air itself appears to ripple. The caravan moves slowly, conserving strength. Camels walk with deliberate steadiness, their shadows short beneath the glaring sky. Water skins are guarded carefully, their contents precious in the vast heat. But as afternoon drifts toward evening, the air cools once more. Long shadows stretch across the desert, creating ribbons of shade that ripple along the ground. The dunes, which had seemed harsh under the noon sun, now glow softly in warm amber light. The desert becomes gentle again, its harshness softened by the low sun. Nights are the desert's gift. As darkness settles, temperatures drop quickly, bringing relief from the day's heat. Fires glow warmly in sheltered hollows between dunes. Travellers gather close, their silhouettes forming quiet circles around small flames. The sound of crackling wood mixes with the low rustle of wind passing over sand. Above, the stars appear once more, sharp, bright, countless. In the vast stillness of the Taklamakan, the night sky feels endless, a silent companion that has watched over travellers for thousands of years. Days pass in this rhythm, heat and cool, light and shade, movement and rest. By the time the caravan approaches the western edge of the desert, the dunes begin to shrink once more. Earth firms beneath the feet of the camels. Grasses reappear, bending gently in the wind. The long ocean of sand gradually gives way to the rising foothills of the mountains. Ahead lie the Pamir Mountains, steep, quiet and breathtaking, leaving the sand-soft horizon of the Taklamakan behind. The land begins to rise. At first the change is subtle, a gentle increase in elevation, a coolness settling into the air, a shift in the sound of the wind as it brushes against the earth. But then gradually, the world ahead lifts into vast shapes of stone and sky. These are the Pamir Mountains, sometimes called the roof of the world, a name that feels true even before reaching the first slopes. The path westward narrows as it climbs. Loose stones scatter beneath the feet of the caravan animals, making their steps deliberate and slow. The air grows thinner, crisp and light, carrying the faint scent of cold rock and distant snow. As clouds drift lower, brushing the peaks in soft grey strokes, the mountains rise higher still, their jagged outlines cutting into the sky with gentle authority. Approaching the foothills, the temperature begins to drop noticeably. Cloaks are tightened, ropes adjusted, and bundles secured so they do not sway during the ascent. The first stretches of the climb wind across wide ledges where patches of hardy grass cling to the mountainside. These grasses ripple quietly under the wind, their pale green and yellow strands softened by the thin mountain sun. Far below, the desert fades into a smooth wash of beige and gold, barely visible through faint shimmering light. The dunes appear almost dreamlike from this height, gentle folds of colour, quiet and distant. The change in landscape is overwhelming in its contrast. From warm sand to cold stone, from wide open plains to narrow mountain trails, from shimmering heat to cool, shadowed valleys. As the caravan continues upward, small streams begin to appear, their water clear and frigid, flowing over polished rocks in thin musical courses. The sound of flowing water, absent through much of the desert, feels like a soft returning. The streams wind their way down from melting snow far above, carrying with them the crispness of high untouched places. Climbing higher, the path becomes steeper. Sometimes it moves between tall stone walls that rise like enormous silent guardians. Other times it opens into broad terraces where the world stretches wide and endless below. The wind grows stronger here, slipping between layers of clothing and cooling the skin. Small shelters appear from time to time, simple stone huts built long ago by travellers who braved this route before. Their walls bear the marks of countless winters, each stone shaped slightly by wind and frost. Resting beside one of these huts, the land opens in every direction. Peaks rise in rows, fading from dark grey to pale lavender as they stretch toward distant horizons. Clouds drift low across them, their shadows moving softly over the slopes. The higher the climb, the fewer signs of vegetation appear. Shrubs vanish, replaced by hardy mosses that cling to rocks in patches of muted green. Even these thin out until only stone and sky remain. Snow appears next, small patches at first, then larger stretches, until the ground holds a permanent coolness beneath the sun. At night, the mountains grow even quieter. Fires burn with difficulty in the thin air, their flames small and pale. Travellers gather close to the warmth, their breath rising in faint white clouds that dissolve quickly. The sky at this elevation is startling, clearer, sharper, and deeper than in the desert below. Stars glitter intensely, each point of light bright and steady, untouched by dust or haze. The silence of the mountains is profound. It settles over everything with a calm weight, as if the entire world is listening. The occasional call of an unseen bird echoes briefly, fading into the vastness. The soft shuffle of animals settling into rest becomes loud in the still air. Morning in the Pamirs arrives slowly. Pale light touches the tips of the peaks first, turning them gold, then pink, then white. Frost melts along the edges of stones, glistening like small beads of glass. The cold air carries a sharpness that clears the mind and seems to deepen every sound. The crunch of snow beneath feet, the faint creaking of saddles, the whisper of wind along ridges. Continuing westward, the caravan reaches one of the higher passes. The climb here is narrow and steep, bordered by sheer drops on one side and rising walls of rock on the other. Yet the path has been walked by countless travellers, merchants, monks, shepherds, explorers. Their presence still lingers in the stones that bear the wear of thousands of steps. Reaching the highest point of the pass, the land opens suddenly into a vast, awe-inspiring view. Mountain peaks stretch endlessly in every direction, their tops crowned with fire and snow that glows softly under the morning sun. The air is still silent, almost reverent. The world seems to hold its breath. Crossing the pass feels like stepping from one realm into another. The descent begins gently at first, moving down through wide valleys carved by ancient glaciers. The slopes are dotted with grazing yaks, thick-furred animals that move with surprising calm through the rugged terrain. Their calls echo lightly, carried by the cool air. Lower still, small streams reappear. Their waters gather into larger rivers that cut through stone, shaping smooth paths that glisten beneath the sunlight. The sound of flowing water grows stronger, filling the valleys with soft, continuous motion. The slopes begin to show hints of green again, small shrubs, thin grasses, then clusters of wildflowers in gentle shades of white, purple and yellow. Villages appear next, small clusters of stone houses with flat roofs that blend into the mountainside. Smoke rises faintly from chimneys, carrying the scent of burning wood. Children play near low stone walls, their voices echoing clearly in the crisp air. Shepherds guide their flocks across terraced fields that cling to slopes in neat, careful steps. The descent continues until the mountains soften into rolling foothills. Trees appear, first sparse, then more numerous, their leaves shimmering in the cool breeze. The sound of the wind changes again, rustling through branches instead of sweeping over bare rock. By the time the caravan reaches the base of the Pamirs, the transformation is complete. Snow-capped peaks stand behind like quiet sentinels, while ahead lies a wide, open land, rich in colour and life. This land leads towards Samarkand, a city of blue tiles and bustling markets. The next chapter drifts into its shimmering heart. Descending from the high, cool air of the Pamirs, the world opens once more into broad valleys touched by sunlight. The change is gentle at first, thin grasses thickening into soft green fields, quiet rivulets widening into smooth flowing rivers. The breeze warms, carrying the faint scent of fertile soil and blooming wildflowers. For the first time in many days, the land feels welcoming again, almost embracing. After the stark silence of the mountains, travelling westward, the caravan follows a path that winds through cultivated fields, bordered by narrow irrigation channels. Water trickles softly, catching glimmers of light as it moves between rows of crops. Farmers bend over their work, tending to fields of melons, barley and grapes that thrive in the sunlit valleys. Their tools move in slow, familiar rhythms, wood against earth, earth against stone, creating a gentle soundtrack to the passing day. Villages appear more frequently here, each built from sun-dried clay bricks shaped by hand, their surfaces the colour of warm sand. Children play along the edges of the path, laughing in soft bursts of sound as small herds of sheep drift between stone walls. The presence of life grows with every step, birds singing from low branches, the distant call of shepherds guiding their flocks, the faint clatter of a pot being set down inside a home. As midday approaches, the sky brightens into a wide, endless blue. Clouds drift lazily overhead, their shadows rolling slowly across the ground. The air is still warm, but not harsh. It carries a softness that seems to slow the pace of everything around it. The caravan moves steadily through the valley, the bells on the camels chiming in the quiet rhythm, blending with the gentle sounds of the countryside. By late afternoon, the landscape begins to shift again. Distant walls rise from the horizon, vast structures that catch the sunlight in shimmering patterns of blue and white. These are the outer reaches of Samarkand, one of the most storied and beautiful cities along the Silk Road. Even from far away, the city seems to glow, as though the sky has lowered itself to rest upon the earth. As the caravan draws nearer, the colours sharpen. Tall minarets stretch upward, their surfaces decorated with intricate patterns of turquoise tiles that sparkle gently in the sunlight. Geometric designs and floral motifs swirl across domes and arches, each detail crafted with patient artistry. The city's walls appear both ancient and fresh, weathered by time yet bright with colour. Passing through one of Samarkand's great gates feels like entering a dream. The loud world of the caravan hushes instantly. Inside, the streets are cool and shaded, lined with tall buildings whose blue tiles cast soft reflections upon the stone pathways. The air here carries a mixture of scents: warm bread from nearby ovens, sweet fruit displayed at small stalls, and the faint trace of incense drifting from open doorways. Samarkand has been a crossroads of culture for centuries, and the diversity of its people becomes apparent immediately. Traders from distant regions move through the streets, Chinese merchants leading caravans filled with silk, Persian travellers carrying books wrapped in cloth, Indian artisans balancing crates of spices, and nomadic groups from the steppe trading leather goods and wool. Their voices blend softly, creating a tapestry of languages that hums gently through the city. Stopping at a small market, the caravan animals are given rest as I wander between stalls shaded by colourful fabrics. Here, artisans display delicate metalwork that gleams in the dim midday light, silver bracelets etched with floral patterns, brass bowls polished to a warm golden sheen. Potters arrange their creations in careful rows, each piece painted with deep blues and soft greens that mirror the colours of the city's tiles. In one corner of the market, a calligrapher sits behind a low wooden table, his brush moving with slow precision across a fresh piece of parchment. His strokes are smooth and deliberate, forming elegant shapes that tell stories even without being understood. The ink glistens briefly before sinking into the page, leaving a mark that will remain for ages if cared for. Samarkand's beauty extends far beyond its markets. Walking through the city reveals courtyards filled with fruit trees, whose branches cast dappled shadows over mosaic-tiled fountains. The water moves gently, creating a quiet, rhythmic sound that echoes softly against the stone walls. The shade beneath the trees is cool, and the air smells faintly of ripening figs and fresh leaves. Beyond these courtyards lie the entrances to grand madrasas, centres of learning where scholars gathered to discuss poetry, mathematics, astronomy and philosophy. Their domed ceilings are covered in patterns that seem to shift with the movement of sunlight. Inside, the halls are quiet, their walls lined with shelves that once held manuscripts, copied by careful hands under the glow of lantern light. In the late afternoon, the sun's angle casts a warm golden tone across the entire city. The domes and minarets catch the light beautifully, their tiles glowing as though illuminated from within. The streets grow quieter as people retreat into shaded rooms to rest, and the distant sound of instruments floats from an open courtyard. Soft notes from a lute, played slowly and with practiced grace. As evening arrives, lanterns are hung along doorways and narrow alleys. Their warm glow reflects off tile and stone, creating patterns of gold that dance with each flicker of the flame. Travellers gather in tea houses where the air is warm and filled with the scent of citrus and spice. Cups of tea are poured in slow streams, the liquid dark and fragrant, steam rising gently into the softened light. Stepping outside again, the sky above Samarkand deepens into a rich indigo. Stars appear one by one, forming a quiet canopy over the city. The cool night air drifts through the streets, carrying with it the distant sounds of people settling into rest. The city's great domes, now shadowed, stand dark against the luminous sky. The caravan settles at a caravanserai, one of the large inns built to shelter travellers. Inside, the courtyard is calm and open, surrounded by arched doorways leading to small rooms. Camels kneel to rest as blankets are laid out and small fires are lit in sheltered corners. Conversations fade as the night deepens. The scent of cooling stone and warm embers mingles in the air. Lying awake under the star-filled sky, the memory of Samarkand glows softly in the mind, its blue tiles shimmering in sunlight, its quiet courtyards, its drifting music. It is a city where stories from countless cultures pause and breathe before continuing along the Silk Road. Westward from here lies Persia, a world of gardens, poetry and desert winds. The next chapter begins in its gentle lands. Leaving Samarkand behind, the road stretches into a landscape warmed by sun and deepened by centuries of footsteps. The colours shift gradually as the caravan heads southwest. Greens fade into soft golds, the air grows drier, touched with a whisper of desert wind. Ahead lies Persia, a world of poetry and gardens, of quiet caravanserais and long gentle plains that glow beneath the evening sky. The path narrows between low hills, before opening into broad plateaus, dotted with hardy shrubs. Their leaves shimmer faintly beneath the sunlight, silver tracing the edges where the breeze touches them. Small flocks of sheep graze calmly, watched by shepherds wrapped in loose cloaks that ripple in the wind. Their presence adds a quiet rhythm to the land, as steady and soothing as the distant toll of a village bell. The caravan progresses at a measured pace. Camels move in patient lines across the open plains, their shadows long and soft beneath the midday light. The bells on their harnesses chime gently with each step, blending into the faint rustling of dry grass. Occasionally, the path passes small streams where narrow ribbons of water reflect the sky in pale blue. These small veins of life cut delicate winding paths through the semi-arid land. Persian towns appear intermittently along the Silk Road, towns whose names have shifted and changed over centuries, yet still hold echoes of travellers long gone. Approaching one such town, the scent of warm bread floats through the air, mingling with the faint aroma of roasting nuts and spices. Clay walls rise on either side of the path, their surfaces faded by time into soft earthy tones. The wooden gates stand open, welcoming the caravan into shaded streets lined with woven canopies. Inside, the atmosphere is gentle and inviting. Merchants arrange pottery, painted in rich blues and greens beneath their awnings. Their hands move with practiced calm, adjusting bowls to catch the angle of the sun just right. In another corner of the market, a carpet maker weaves intricate designs into a loom. Each thread is pulled with meticulous care, forming patterns that seem to shift subtly with the changing light. These designs, floral motifs, curling vines, geometric structures, reflect the harmony of the world around them. The sounds here are soft, the muted thud of footsteps on clay, the quiet murmur of voices exchanging greetings, the trickle of water flowing from a courtyard fountain. Turning down a narrow pathway, the sound of the fountain grows stronger, guiding the way into a small garden hidden behind stone walls. Inside, the air is refreshingly cool. Rose bushes bloom in shades of blush and deep crimson, their petals velvety and fragrant. A stream of water flows along narrow channels, set in geometric patterns across the courtyard floor, a gentle reminder of the Persian love for order, symmetry, and nature. Stepping out again, the caravan prepares to continue westward. As the sun begins its descent, Long shadows spill over the town's walls, stretching outward like calm fingers of twilight. The sky softens into warm tones, peach gold and amber blending seamlessly into one another. The heat of the day fades into a comfortable warmth as the caravan leaves the town and follows the winding road deeper into Persian lands. The evening brings with it a soft breeze that carries traces of jasmine and fresh earth. Lantern flames begin to flicker as they are lit along the path, casting delicate halos of amber light that sway with every movement. The air grows cooler, and the world seems to slow, as if wrapped in a gentle settling hush. Farther along the route stands a caravanserai, one of the large roadside inns built to shelter travellers and their animals. Its walls rise from the earth like a calm monolith, squared and strong, their surfaces catching the evening light in muted tones. The heavy wooden doors open inward, revealing a spacious central courtyard surrounded by arched hallways and small rooms carved into thick walls. Inside, the air is warm and still. Travellers gather around low fires that glow softly in protected corners. The scent of simmering lentils and warm bread fills the courtyard, drifting among the scattered groups. Some travellers speak in low tones, others sit in silence, their faces lit gently by the shifting flames as they rest from their long journey. I settle near one of the fires, listening to the subtle sounds around me. Wood crackling, the soft sighing of wind slipping through narrow windows, the calm murmur of distant voices carrying stories across time. Above, the night sky opens in full clarity. Stars puncture the darkness in countless points of silver light, forming patterns that travellers for centuries have used to guide their path. Persia has long been a land of scholars and poets, their words carried along the Silk Road like treasured goods. Sitting in this quiet inn, with the fire's warmth settling into the stone, those words seem to rise from the night itself. Verses about love, nature, longing and truth fill the memory. Stories of gardens where nightingales sang, where roses opened beneath the moon, where scholars debated under arched halls. In the morning, soft light spills over the courtyard as the caravan prepares to continue westward. A faint mist rises from the earth, illuminated by pale dawn. The world feels refreshed, as if washed clean by the night's cool air. The caravanserai's walls cast long shadows that recede slowly as the sun climbs. Travel resumes along wide plains where the landscape shifts between soft hills and low stretches of desert. Small clusters of trees appear along rivers that run shallow but steady. Villages come and go, each with its own quiet charm, some with stone houses arranged in gentle terraces, others with square adobe buildings that blend seamlessly with the earth. Westward, the air warms once more. The land becomes a blend of gold and soft brown, broken by the occasional grove of trees whose leaves shimmer beneath the sun. The path winds gently between these natural patterns, curving around rises and sinking into shallow valleys warmed by the afternoon light. As evening nears, the caravan approaches the outer edges of the Persian region. The warm colours of the land soften into deep oranges and muted purples under the setting sun. Another night of calm rest awaits. Beyond this western horizon lies the Mediterranean world, where the Silk Road meets the sea. The final chapter begins with the sound of waves. As the caravan leaves the Persian lands behind, the landscape begins to shift once more. The warm golds and browns of the plains soften into pale earth and muted greens as the road curves gently west. Over time, the hills grow lower, spreading into wide open spaces touched by breezes that carry a faint hint of salt. Though the sea is still far away, its presence lingers in the air, a quiet promise of the Silk Road's end. The light changes too. The sky takes on a softer quality, its blue washed with hints of silver as the thin clouds drift overhead. The sun warms the world with a calmer glow, less intense than in the desert, gentler than in the mountains. Every part of the land seems to signal the nearing of a distant, shimmering edge. The caravan continues along a path surrounded by low stone walls that guide the way towards small villages. These villages feel ancient in their own right. Clusters of whitewashed homes with terracotta roofs warmed by the sun. Olive trees stretch in neat rows, their leaves shimmering like hundreds of soft silver-green feathers as the wind brushes through their branches. The sound of these leaves rustling creates a constant soothing whisper across the open fields. In one such village the caravan pauses. Markets gather beneath striped awnings, the colours faded by long years but still cheerful in the morning light. Fishermen sell their catch from baskets lined with smooth stones, their movements slow and practiced. Artisans sit on low stools, weaving reed mats or carving bowls from olive wood that holds the faint scent of oil and earth. The atmosphere here is unhurried, peaceful, filled with the simplicity of daily life at the edge of great distances. Beyond the village the land opens again. The path begins a gentle descent, not steep like the Pamirs, but long and meandering. The breeze strengthens, carrying with it a coolness that grows more pronounced with each step. The faint taste of salt becomes clear now, a reminder that the journey is nearing its final horizon. Birds circle overhead, white shapes gliding smoothly through the sky, following currents of wind that flow in from the sea. Eventually, the terrain drops just enough to reveal a shimmering span of deep blue in the distance. The Mediterranean Sea. It spreads across the horizon like a soft brushstroke of colour, calm and expansive beneath the afternoon sun. The sight invites a pause. After weeks of deserts, mountains, plains and gardens, the sea's openness feels both peaceful and profound. The caravan makes its way toward one of the great coastal cities that mark the western end of the Silk Road. Its white stone buildings reflect the sunlight in muted tones, and the harbour lies ahead, filled with ships anchored gently in the tide, their sails furled and resting sway with the slow rhythm of the water. Wooden decks creak softly. Ropes shift in the wind, and the faint sound of waves meeting the shore creates a soothing, repeating melody. Stepping into the city, the streets feel different from those of Samarkand or the Persian towns. The air is cooler, touched with the freshness of the sea. The stone beneath my feet is smooth from countless years of footsteps. The markets are filled with goods from lands beyond the horizon. Glass that glints like small captured stars, spices that hold the warmth of southern winds, woven baskets dyed in pale blues and sandy yellows. But what stands out most in this place is the atmosphere of arrival. Travellers here have reached the end of a great path. Their journeys stretch behind them in memories of mountains, deserts, oases, and cities shimmering with blue tiles. Their faces show the quiet satisfaction of journeys completed, and the calm relief of reaching a place where land meets water. Walking toward the harbour, the sounds of the sea become clearer. Water lapping against stone, gulls calling softly overhead, ships rocking in the gentle tide. The breeze lifts strands of hair, cool and clean. It carries traces of salt, wood, and the faint scent of sea grasses growing along the shoreline. Standing at the edge of the harbour, the view expands into wide open water that glows beneath the changing sky. Waves roll in slow rhythmic patterns, their surfaces catching the sunlight and reflecting it in gentle shimmering flashes. The horizon blends into soft hues of pale blue, silver and distant gold. The sea seems endless, a tranquil mirror that holds the sky within it. Silk brought from the Far East arrives here after months, sometimes years of travel. Its colours remain vibrant, preserved carefully across thousands of miles. Merchants unfurl its smooth lengths under open air, revealing deep red, soft golds, and delicate patterns woven with quiet care. Buyers examine the fabric, letting it run between their fingers, admiring its texture in the filtered light. This cloth has travelled farther than most people ever will, crossing lands where countless lives have added their stories to its journey. As the afternoon light begins to soften, the scene becomes almost dreamlike. The golden glow of the sun rests on the water, turning the sea's surface into a gentle path of light that stretches into the horizon. The ships become silhouettes, rocking quietly. The caravan animals kneel to rest on the smooth stone ground, their shadows lengthening toward the city walls. As evening approaches, lanterns flicker along the harbour's edges. Their warm glow reflects in small arcs upon the water, each ripple creating shifting patterns of gold. The wind softens, the sea calms further, and the entire world seems to exhale into the stillness of night. Sitting near the water, the memories of the entire Silk Road unfurl like a long piece of fabric. Each place a different colour, each step a new thread woven into the greater tapestry. The blue tiles of Samarkand, the cold air of the Pamirs, the lantern-lit dunes of the Taklamakan, the narrow Gansu corridor, and the early morning streets of Xi'an. All of it drifts together in quiet harmony, bound by the slow rhythm of travel. As the last light of day settles into the sea, the Silk Road's journey comes to a peaceful close. The thread that began in the Far East has reached its western edge, resting gently where land meets water. And though countless travellers have walked this road over centuries, each journey remains unique, carried forward in memory long after the path is left behind. The sound of the waves repeats softly, a calming reminder that every journey, no matter how long, eventually finds its resting place.